You hit 65, and suddenly your strength doesn't feel the same, your legs tire faster, your balance is off, and your once firm muscles seem to be fading. This isn't just aging, it's called sarcopenia, and it's one of the most silent yet dangerous threats to your longevity. But here's the good news. You can stop it in its tracks, and it all starts with what you put in your morning coffee. Forget gimmicks. This isn't about another supplement ad. This is science-based metabolic strategy, and all it takes is one simple addition to your coffee to flip your body from muscle wasting mode into muscle building mode before breakfast. Let's break it down. Once you cross the age of 65, your body begins to undergo a significant physiological transformation that most people aren't even aware of until it's already taken a toll. This transformation centers around a condition known as sarcopenia, which is the gradual loss of muscle mass, strength, and functionality associated with aging. But what most don't realize is that sarcopenia isn't just a passive consequence of getting older. It's an active metabolic shift that accelerates if you don't take specific steps to counteract it. Around this age, your body's ability to synthesize muscle protein drops dramatically, while your muscle breakdown mechanisms become more dominant. What this means in simple terms is that your muscle building switch becomes weaker and your muscle wasting switch becomes stronger. Now combine this with a reduced appetite, poor nutrient absorption, low physical activity, and often a lack of sufficient dietary protein, and you create a perfect internal environment for your muscles to shrink rapidly, especially in the legs and core. These are the regions of the body most affected by sarcopenia because they are composed of large muscle groups that are crucial for mobility, balance, and daily strength. As muscle tissue diminishes, what replaces it is not strength or stability, but fat, connective tissue, and inflammation. This not only increases the risk of falls and fractures, but also makes simple tasks like climbing stairs, walking, or even standing for long periods increasingly difficult. The real danger, though, lies in the metabolic cascade that sarcopenia sets off. When you lose muscle, you're not just losing strength. You're losing insulin sensitivity. Your muscle tissue is the primary site where glucose is cleared from the bloodstream. So when muscle mass goes down, blood sugar regulation becomes erratic, insulin resistance starts to build, and fat accumulation becomes more centralized, particularly visceral fat around the organs. This can increase the risk for type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and even certain cancers. It's a domino effect. You lose muscle, your insulin sensitivity drops, your inflammation rises, and your risk for chronic illness skyrockets. Unfortunately, most conventional nutrition advice given to seniors is outdated and often counterproductive. Many older adults are told to follow low-fat, high-carb diets, which only fuel more blood sugar instability and accelerate muscle breakdown. Add to that the frequent use of medications like statins and diuretics, which can further deplete essential nutrients like magnesium, potassium, and CoQ10, nutrients your muscles desperately need to function and regenerate, and now your body is functioning in a state of chronic nutritional deficit. What makes sarcopenia particularly dangerous is how silent and gradual it can be at first. You might notice you're not walking as fast, or you get tired climbing stairs that used to be easy. Maybe your grip strength feels weaker, or you struggle to get out of a chair without using your arms. These might seem like small inconveniences, but they are actually early warning signs of a serious physiological shift. And once muscle loss hits a critical threshold, typically referred to as the disability threshold, it becomes increasingly difficult to reverse. At that point, you're not just losing physical capacity, you're losing independence. You may require assistance walking, experience frequent falls, or become prone to hospitalizations and infections. But here's the truth. Sarcopenia is not inevitable. It is preventable, and in many cases it's reversible if you understand the root mechanisms and act early. The key lies in recognizing that after 65, the rules of nutrition and muscle metabolism change. Your body no longer responds to small amounts of protein or irregular meals the way it did in your 30s or 40s. You now require higher quality protein sources, rich in leucine and other branched-chain amino acids, delivered early in the day, when your muscle cells are most responsive to nutrient signaling. You also need to minimize insulin spikes, maintain mitochondrial function, and protect against chronic low-grade inflammation. All of this can be done through targeted nutrition strategies that focus on protein timing, amino acid density, healthy fats, and anti-inflammatory foods. In other words, if you're over 65, every bite you eat either preserves your muscle or contributes to its loss. And if you start your morning with the wrong fuel, such as a sugary cereal, toast, or nothing at all, you're sending a message to your body that it's time to break down tissue for energy, not build it. Sarcopenia accelerates when you ignore these signals. Your morning coffee ritual, for most people, is just that, a ritual, a comforting habit to start the day. You wake up, brew a cup, maybe add a splash of milk or a sprinkle of sugar, and go about your routine, often unaware of the profound metabolic opportunities being missed. But what if this daily habit, so automatic, so deeply ingrained, could be leveraged as a powerful strategic tool for preserving muscle, fighting sarcopenia, and even slowing down aging itself? The truth is, it can. Your body, especially after age 60, is in a radically different metabolic state than it was in your 30s or 40s. Overnight, while you sleep, your body enters what's called a catabolic state, where it begins to break down tissue, including muscle tissue, for fuel. This is completely normal to some extent. But if you wake up and consume nothing of substance, or worse, just carbohydrates, you're essentially continuing this catabolic process well into your morning. You're telling your body, go ahead and keep using my muscles for energy. And this is exactly what you don't want if you're trying to maintain strength, independence, or mobility as you age. The window between waking up and your first meal is critical. It's the moment when your body is most responsive to signals from nutrients. This is the perfect time to deliver what it needs to stop muscle breakdown and activate muscle protein synthesis, the process through which your body builds and maintains lean tissue. Now, here's where your coffee becomes more than just a drink. If you add the right ingredient, your morning coffee becomes a delivery system for bioactive compounds that can flip your metabolism from catabolic to anabolic in just minutes. The most effective addition? A high-quality, grass-fed collagen peptide, ideally hydrolyzed for maximum absorption, along with a dose of leucine or a leucine-rich amino blend. Collagen provides key building blocks like glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, which are essential not just for joints and skin, but for maintaining the integrity of muscle, fascia, and connective tissue, the scaffolding that holds your muscles together and transfers force when you move. When paired with leucine, a branched-chain amino acid that directly activates the mTOR pathway in muscle, you send a signal to your body that says, we're not breaking down tissue today, we're building it. And the beauty of doing this through your coffee is compliance. You're already drinking it. There's no extra meal to prepare, no pills to swallow, no complicated protocols to follow. You simply stir in a scoop or two of the right supplement, and now you've turned an everyday habit into a targeted therapeutic intervention against aging muscle loss. But it doesn't stop there. Coffee itself, when consumed in moderation, has been shown to increase metabolic rate, improve mitochondrial efficiency, and enhance physical performance. When you combine this thermogenic effect with amino acids and possibly a source of healthy fat like MCT oil or grass-fed butter, you create a synergistic environment where your body is burning fat, sparing muscle, and staying satiated, all without spiking insulin or triggering a crash. That means better energy, better mental clarity, and a longer fasting window if you're practicing intermittent fasting. Plus, collagen supports gut health, reduces joint pain, and enhances skin elasticity, all of which are concerns that become increasingly relevant as we age. And when you consider that most seniors fall short on their daily protein needs, especially in the morning, adding these nutrients to your coffee is not just helpful, it's essential. It's a strategic correction to a widespread nutritional gap. Instead of beginning your day in a muscle wasting state, you're giving your body a metabolic signal of strength, recovery, and renewal. You're not just drinking coffee anymore, you're performing. Nutrient timing, an advanced strategy once reserved for athletes and biohackers, now adapted for those who want to age with power, purpose, and vitality. And remember, the body responds to consistency, not extremes. It's not about doing something once. It's about embedding this practice into your lifestyle so that every day you start with an anabolic advantage. One small change, one strategic addition to something you're already doing can shift the entire trajectory of your muscle health, your metabolism, and your aging process. This is how smart nutrition works. Not by overwhelming you with changes, but by teaching you how to optimize what you're already doing. One of the most overlooked but critically damaging habits when it comes to muscle preservation, especially after the age of 50 or 60, is skipping protein in the morning. While this might seem harmless on the surface, the metabolic consequences are anything but. Your body is incredibly responsive to what you feed it first thing in the morning. After a 7 to 10 hour overnight fast, your internal systems are not only low on circulating nutrients, but also in a catabolic state, meaning the body is actively breaking down tissue, most notably muscle protein, to maintain glucose levels and fuel the brain. Now, if you don't intervene with the right nutrients, particularly high-quality bioavailable protein, this catabolic process continues, and your muscle tissue is the first casualty. Unfortunately, most people either delay eating altogether, consume a high-carb breakfast with little to no protein, or rely on coffee and maybe a piece of toast or fruit. These choices provide glucose and insulin spikes, but fail to deliver the amino acids needed to switch your body from catabolic to anabolic, meaning from muscle wasting to muscle building. And over time, this becomes a daily metabolic insult to your muscle health. Now consider this. As you age, your body becomes less efficient at utilizing dietary protein. This is known as anabolic resistance, and it means you need even more protein, not less, to stimulate the same level of muscle protein synthesis that your younger body once could with ease. So when you're skipping protein in the morning, you're missing the single most effective window to stimulate muscle preservation. Instead of giving your muscles the building blocks they need to repair and grow, you're giving your body permission to continue breaking down lean tissue for fuel. And muscle isn't just important for strength, it's a major organ of metabolism. It controls insulin sensitivity, regulates glucose disposal, and acts as a reservoir for amino acids needed in immune responses and healing. So the more you allow muscle to degrade, the more insulin resistant you become, the slower your metabolism operates, and the greater your risk for chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, and even cognitive decline. Skipping protein doesn't just mean skipping breakfast entirely. Even common breakfast choices that appear healthy on the surface can sabotage your muscle integrity if they lack adequate amino acid profiles. Think about the typical breakfast: cereal, toast, fruit, pancakes, or even oatmeal. While these foods might give you short bursts of energy due to their carbohydrate content, they do virtually nothing for your muscle building machinery, and in fact can worsen insulin spikes that further promote muscle degradation and fat accumulation. High insulin levels block fat burning, increase fat storage, and inhibit muscle growth. When there's no protein to buffer that response, the result is a daily metabolic stressor that accelerates sarcopenia age, muscle loss. This is especially dangerous for seniors who are already dealing with declining hormone levels like growth hormone and testosterone, both of which naturally support lean muscle mass. So skipping protein in the morning isn't a neutral decision, it's a biologically damaging one. And the consequences are cumulative. You don't notice them overnight. Instead, you begin to see subtle changes. It becomes harder to get up off the floor. Your legs feel weaker. Your posture changes. Your endurance drops. And you lose that feeling of strength and resilience you once had. These are not just age changes. They are the predictable outcome of chronic protein neglect, especially in the first few hours of the day. By contrast, when you consume sufficient protein in the morning, ideally 20 to 30 grams of high leucine, complete protein, you activate muscle protein synthesis, stabilize your blood sugar, blunt cortisol, and reduce hunger throughout the day. You're sending the body a clear message: we are preserving and protecting muscle. We are not breaking it down. And that message is reinforced every single day that you prioritize protein first thing in the morning. So rather than relying on caffeine alone or high sugar breakfast choices that may taste good but offer no structural support to your body, think about starting your day with fuel that heals and builds. Whether it's collagen in your coffee, pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed whey protein, or a leucine-rich amino blend, your body will use those nutrients as raw material to maintain the tissues that keep you upright, mobile, and independent. This shift doesn't require a radical overhaul, just an understanding of how your metabolism changes with age and the critical role that morning protein plays in protecting your most metabolically active tissue, your muscle. There's a widespread misconception that coffee is just a caffeine boost, a mental pick-me-up to get you going in the morning, but in reality, your coffee can be transformed into something far more powerful than a stimulant. With one strategic addition of collagen and leucine-rich peptides, you can turn your morning brew into a metabolic tool that triggers muscle protein synthesis almost instantly, halting the muscle-wasting state that begins overnight and accelerating your body's ability to rebuild and preserve lean mass. Let's break this down. When you wake up, your body is in a fasted state, having spent hours without food. During this period, it's catabolic, meaning it's breaking down tissues for energy, especially skeletal muscle, since muscle provides amino acids that can be converted into glucose for essential brain function. If you don't interrupt this process strategically, muscle loss continues. And for older adults, especially those over 60, this can be devastating. The age decline in anabolic hormones like growth hormone, testosterone, and IGF-1 already makes it harder to maintain muscle mass. Add in the fact that older muscle becomes less responsive to dietary protein, a condition known as anabolic resistance, and you begin to see why something as simple as a protein-deficient morning can fast, track sarcopenia, the chronic loss of muscle tissue associated with aging. But here's the good news. Your body is also highly receptive to anabolic signals in the morning, particularly when amino acids are consumed during or right after the fasted state. This is where collagen peptides and leucine come into play. Collagen is a unique protein composed primarily of glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline amino acids that support the structural integrity of your connective tissue, tendons, ligaments, and fascia, all of which are vital to joint stability and muscular function. While collagen alone doesn't provide the full spectrum of essential amino acids for muscle building, it's a perfect complement to your diet when paired with leucine-rich peptides or branched-chain amino acids, BCAAs. Leucine, in particular, is the amino acid most responsible for activating mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin, a central cellular pathway that tells your body to begin synthesizing new muscle proteins. Think of leucine as the ignition switch that turns on your body's muscle-building engine. Without it, protein synthesis remains low or stagnant, especially in older adults. But with it, you can effectively flip your metabolic state from muscle breakdown to muscle growth. When you add these peptides to your morning coffee, ideally a high-quality organic brew without sugar or refined creamers, you're not just getting a mental boost, you're giving your body the exact raw materials it needs to activate recovery, strength, and repair. And because coffee itself can enhance nutrient absorption, increase circulation, and improve mitochondrial function, it becomes a natural delivery system for these muscle-preserving compounds. The heat of the coffee helps dissolve the peptides quickly, making them easy to consume without altering the flavor significantly, especially if you use unflavored or lightly vanilla collagen powder. And if you blend in a healthy fat like MCT oil or grass-fed butter, you not only enhance flavor and satiety, but you also help stabilize insulin levels, creating a hormonal environment that's even more favorable to fat burning and lean muscle maintenance. This combination works synergistically. Collagen repairs the scaffolding of your musculoskeletal system, supporting joint health, skin elasticity, and tendon resilience. Leucine signals your muscle cells to start building new tissue, and the caffeine in coffee boosts metabolic rate and increases alertness, giving you more energy to engage in the one activity that best amplifies muscle preservation: movement. Whether it's walking, resistance training, or stretching, starting your day with this enhanced coffee primes your body for performance and preservation. You're no longer starting the day behind the curve. You're starting in an anabolic state, fully equipped to counteract the age muscle decline that plagues so many adults over 60. This approach is not just for fitness enthusiasts. It's essential for anyone who values mobility, independence, and strength in their later years. Muscle is not just for appearance. It's your metabolic currency. The more you have, the better you age. Strong muscles protect your bones, support your joints, stabilize blood sugar, and even reduce the risk of falls and fractures. And it all begins with a small shift in your morning routine. Instead of drinking empty calories or skipping nutrients entirely, you're giving your body what it truly needs: targeted amino acids at the most responsive time of the day. This is how functional nutrition works, not by overhauling your lifestyle overnight, but by inserting smart, science-backed choices into the habits you already have. Coffee with collagen and leucine isn't just a beverage, it's a therapeutic tool for muscle longevity. The combination of collagen peptides, leucine-rich amino acids, and healthy fats in your morning routine, especially when added to something as habitual as coffee, does far more than just preserve muscle. It directly stabilizes two of the most critical regulators of health and aging: blood sugar and insulin. These two factors, often overlooked in the context of muscle health, are in fact the silent drivers behind whether your body is in a state of strength building or destructive decay. When blood sugar rises rapidly, often triggered by high-carb, low-protein breakfasts like cereal, toast, juice, or even just black coffee on an empty stomach, it forces your pancreas to release insulin. Insulin in small amounts is essential for life, but in excess, especially when released chronically due to poor dietary patterns, it becomes pro-siliconely and catabolic, meaning it breaks down muscle tissue and promotes the storage of fat, particularly visceral fat. This is the kind of metabolic environment that accelerates sarcopenia, age, muscle loss, and slowly turns a strong, functional body into a weak and fragile one. By contrast, when you combine collagen peptides, which are rich in glycine and proline and help repair connective tissue, with leucine, rich essential amino acids, you create a nutrient-dense fuel that signals the body to build and repair rather than break down. But the secret weapon in this combination is how it modulates blood sugar and insulin response, especially when paired with a source of healthy fat like MCT oil, grass-fed butter, or even a spoon of coconut oil. These fats slow the absorption of nutrients and blunt the post-meal glucose spike, which is critical for protecting muscle. When blood sugar is stable, the body has no need to produce large amounts of insulin, and when insulin is kept in check, the internal environment becomes favorable for fat burning, hormone balance, and muscle protein synthesis. In other words, you shift your body out of a reactive, inflammatory state into a calm, anabolic state where healing, repair, and preservation dominate. Now consider this. Every time you eat, you're giving your body a hormonal message. If that message is store fat and break down muscle, which is what happens with high-carb, low-protein meals, then your metabolism begins to shift in that direction. Over time, this pattern leads to insulin resistance, a condition where cells become numb to the effects of insulin and require more and more to do the same job. This condition is rampant in older adults and is directly tied to frailty, loss of muscle tone, and increased fat around the midsection. But when your morning meal is high in amino acids and fat and low in sugar and starch, you send a completely different message. Preserve muscle, burn fat, keep insulin low. This is the foundation of a metabolically flexible body, one that can switch between fuel sources easily, maintain energy throughout the day, and recover efficiently from stress or physical exertion. Another powerful effect of this combination is the reduction in blood sugar volatility. When blood glucose fluctuates wildly throughout the day, spiking and crashing due to poor dietary choices, your adrenal glands are forced to compensate by releasing cortisol and adrenaline. These stress hormones further degrade muscle tissue, increase cravings, disrupt sleep, and weaken your immune response. But when you front load your day with nutrients that stabilize glucose, you reduce the demand on the adrenals, support a more stable mood, reduce anxiety, and improve mental clarity, all while protecting lean body mass. In other words, it's not just about what you eat, but how what you eat influences your entire hormonal cascade. That cascade can either support your longevity or chip away at it, one insulin spike at a time. Let's also talk about glycine, one of the dominant amino acids in collagen. Glycine is a blood sugar modulator on its own. It supports liver detoxification, improves insulin sensitivity, and acts as an inhibitory neurotransmitter, helping to calm the nervous system in combination with leucine, which is anabolic and stimulates muscle protein synthesis via mTOR, and fats that delay gastric emptying and reduce glucose spikes. You have a triad of metabolic synergy. These three inputs, amino acids, collagen, and fat, work together to flatten the insulin curve, reduce oxidative stress, and provide your muscles with the building blocks they need without overloading your system with glucose or insulin. This is incredibly important for older adults whose hormonal flexibility is already compromised and whose insulin sensitivity declines naturally with age. By keeping your insulin levels low and stable, you are essentially guarding your muscle mass like a shield. You're also preventing that downstream cascade where high insulin leads to insulin resistance, which leads to inflammation, which leads to mitochondrial dysfunction, reduced energy, and accelerated muscle degradation. The result? Weak legs, poor posture, reduced endurance, and loss of independence. But it doesn't have to be that way. A morning ritual that includes the right amino acids and fats doesn't just support your muscle mass, it rewires your entire metabolic rhythm, giving your body the signal to preserve what's most important, your strength, your energy, and your vitality. When we talk about muscle preservation, especially in the context of aging, it's easy to focus only on protein synthesis and strength. But the body doesn't work in isolated systems. It operates as an interconnected web where the decline of one function often drags down others. That's why when you incorporate nutrient-dense additions like collagen peptides, leucine, and healthy fats into your morning coffee, you're not just preserving muscle, you're nourishing multiple core systems that are critical to overall vitality and longevity. These added nutrients go far beyond protein synthesis. They reach deep into the fabric of your connective tissue, your skin, your joints, and even your mitochondria, making this approach a true full-spectrum anti-aging strategy rather than just another fitness trend. Let's begin with joint health, which is a primary concern for anyone over 50, especially those experiencing stiffness, discomfort, or reduced range of motion. Collagen is the most abundant protein in the body, forming the structural matrix of ligaments, tendons, and cartilage. As we age, natural collagen production declines, leading to weakening of joint integrity and increased wear and tear. That's when you begin to hear popping joints, feel grinding in the knees, or suffer from chronic stiffness in the hips and spine. By adding collagen peptides to your morning coffee, you're giving your body bioavailable amino acids, specifically glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline that directly rebuild and fortify the connective tissues that keep your joints strong and mobile. And because these peptides are hydrolyzed, they're easily absorbed and rapidly utilized by the body, allowing for real-time tissue repair and reduction in inflammation when consumed consistently. The result? Less discomfort during movement, increased flexibility, and a greater capacity to engage in resistance training, walking, or stretching, activities that are absolutely essential to maintaining functional muscle mass. Now let's consider skin elasticity, a feature often viewed through the lens of beauty, but in reality, it's a powerful indicator of your body's structural health. Sagging skin, wrinkles, and dryness aren't just cosmetic issues. They reflect a breakdown in collagen and elastin fibers within the dermis. When collagen begins to deteriorate, skin loses its ability to snap back, becoming thin, fragile, and more prone to bruising. This happens faster in those who consume high-sugar diets or suffer from oxidative stress. By introducing collagen peptides daily, you're not only supporting dermal structure from the inside out, but you're also giving your skin the raw materials it needs to regenerate. Combined with stable blood sugar levels, thanks to the protein and fat combo, this promotes an anti-inflammatory environment where skin can thrive. It's why many people who begin consuming collagen regularly not only feel better in their joints, but also notice smoother, firmer skin, fewer fine lines, and improved hydration. Skin health then becomes an external sign of internal repair, and it all starts at the cellular level. And speaking of cells, no anti-aging discussion is complete without addressing the mitochondria, the microscopic energy factories in each cell that literally keep you alive. Mitochondrial decline is a hallmark of aging, responsible for reduced energy, slower recovery, poor metabolic function, and cognitive decline. These tiny powerhouses require consistent support in the form of amino acids, fatty acids, and cofactors to function optimally. The nutrients in your upgraded morning coffee can directly influence mitochondrial resilience. Glycine supports glutathione production, your body's master antioxidant, which protects mitochondria from oxidative damage. Leucine plays a role in energy signaling and protein turnover, keeping cellular function youthful and efficient. And healthy fats like MCT oil serve as direct mitochondrial fuel, bypassing the liver and delivering ketones, an ultra-efficient energy source that enhances focus, endurance, and mental clarity. Together, these nutrients don't just slow aging, they reshape how your body ages. You're supporting the scaffolding of your physical body, joints, and skin. You're feeding the inner engines that power your movement, muscles, and mitochondria, and you're doing it in a way that aligns with your body's natural rhythms. When these systems are nourished properly, the body becomes more resilient, energy increases, recovery becomes faster, and the visible signs of aging are dramatically reduced. And unlike synthetic interventions or pharmaceuticals that treat symptoms in isolation, this strategy works in harmony with your biology, supporting foundational health across multiple systems simultaneously. What makes this so powerful is its simplicity. You're not adding a complicated routine or a cabinet full of pills. You're transforming something you already do every morning, drinking coffee. With 1 or 2 nutrient-rich additions, you convert that morning habit into a therapeutic ritual, one that addresses everything from joint strength to skin texture to energy metabolism. You're not only halting the decline that typically begins in midlife, you're actively building cellular youth. And when you take this step daily, the results compound. Over weeks and months, the body begins to reflect the nourishment it's receiving. Movements feel smoother, stairs become easier, muscles recover faster, and energy stays consistent throughout the day. You don't just feel younger, you function younger. When we think about muscle loss, especially in older adults, the default assumption is that you need to eat large quantities of food, 3 square meals a day, packed with calories, to prevent or reverse sarcopenia. But this outdated model overlooks one of the most critical principles of metabolic health. It's not about how much you eat, it's about what and when you eat. The body, particularly as it ages, doesn't require volume, it requires precision. Precision in nutrient timing, amino acid delivery, hormonal control, and cellular signaling. And this is especially true when you're over 65, when muscle loss becomes a fast-moving, silent threat that robs strength, mobility, and independence. What your body truly needs is targeted fuel, delivered at strategic times to spark protein synthesis, maintain insulin sensitivity, and support mitochondrial energy production without overburdening your digestive system or causing metabolic strain. And this is where the real power of nutrient timing comes into play, particularly in the morning. After a full night of fasting, your body wakes up in a mildly catabolic state. That means it's already breaking down tissue, especially muscle, for energy. Your glycogen stores are depleted, cortisol is elevated, and your muscles are essentially on the menu if they're not rescued quickly with the right input. But, and this is critical, you don't need a massive plate of food. You don't need a full breakfast buffet or even a full conventional meal. What you need is a small, concentrated dose of bioavailable nutrients that tell your body build, repair, preserve. This could be as simple as a scoop of hydrolyzed collagen peptides, a dose of leucine-rich amino acids, and a tablespoon of MCT oil in your coffee. That's it. In terms of volume, it's minimal, but in terms of metabolic signal, it's enormous. This approach is especially valuable for older adults who often face issues with digestion, appetite, or energy in the morning. Many seniors don't feel like eating first thing, which is fine because we're not asking for a large meal. We're asking for strategic nourishment, something that bypasses complex digestion, provides instant building blocks for muscle tissue, and doesn't spike insulin. Now let's talk about insulin here for a moment because it's one of the silent saboteurs in sarcopenia. The higher your insulin levels, the more your body is locked in a fat-storing, muscle-wasting state. This is why those high-carb, low-protein breakfasts are so damaging. They spike insulin, drop blood sugar a few hours later, and accelerate catabolic stress, breaking down the very tissue you're trying to preserve. But with the right nutrients, specifically leucine, glycine, proline, and healthy fats, you stabilize insulin, reduce inflammation, and flip on the switch for muscle protein synthesis without the metabolic roller coaster. Now, let's dive into the science of leucine, one of the most powerful amino acids when it comes to muscle growth. Leucine activates a pathway in your body called mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin, which is the master regulator of muscle anabolism. Think of mTOR as the build command inside your muscle tissue. When leucine levels are high enough, especially in a fasted state, mTOR gets activated and your body immediately shifts into a mode of repair and regenerate. It's like flipping a switch from breakdown to rebuild. And the best part, you don't need a full steak or a giant protein shake to get there. You can achieve this with a small dose of leucine-rich peptides, often found in specialized collagen blends or essential amino acid formulations designed for absorption and speed. And when you combine leucine with glycine-rich collagen peptides, you're supporting not only your muscle fibers, but also your joints, ligaments, tendons, and skin, all of which deteriorate alongside muscle as you age. Glycine is also a critical precursor for glutathione, your body's master antioxidant, which protects your mitochondria from oxidative stress. That means you're not just preserving muscle, you're preserving cellular energy. And when you add a small amount of MCT oil or grass-fed butter, you're delivering a clean, fast-absorbing source of ketones directly to your cells. Fuel that powers the brain, reduces hunger, and enhances focus. Again, it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality and timing. So rather than burdening your system with large meals that often lead to bloating, fatigue, or blood sugar crashes, you instead microdose your body with power-packed nutrition. This keeps insulin stable, supports mitochondria, feeds muscle, and optimizes cognitive performance. Over time, this pattern of fueling becomes your anti-aging protocol. You become more immunologically flexible, more resilient to stress, more capable of rebuilding tissue even in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. And perhaps most importantly, you maintain your independence, your ability to move freely, lift things, go upstairs, and live life on your terms.